Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm Kathy Costa, your host for today. We have another wonderful guest for you today. Her name is Anne. Sorry, there's a little something going on in front of me here. She's a medium. She's very gifted in what she does. She came into this very quickly, but not too quickly though, which is good. And we became fast friends. You know, I feel like I've known her for years, even though it has been barely a year since I met her. So we're going to just talk with her today, though, and see how everything gets started and where she plans on going next. So, Anne, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Kathy.
Oh, thank you for coming on.
I feel like we're fast friends. I think we probably were together in another life.
I'm sure we were.
But now you're part of my tribe.
Yes.
So I lost my tribe, I retired, and now I'm coming into different people and different situations. I've always been very sensitive, and I thought it was just me being a big mush. As a kid, I can remember just crying about everything. And as I got older, I started reading the books. I was very interested in People That Channel and Louise Hicks and just all the books that were out there. And I actually heard spirit, and it was from the back of my head, and it was very flat. And it actually scared the crap out of me. And I wasn't really sure. I think I had quoted it, or maybe it was always there, but I was very frightened because I did live next to a clinic that dealt with mental health. My brother had schizophrenia. So the last thing I think hearing from the back of my head was really scary, saying, oh, I hope I don't have schizophrenia. And I kind of shut things down for a while, and my brother passed at 36, and my mother really couldn't handle it. So we ended up going to a spiritualist church, and my mother was very Catholic, but it opened up a lot for me. It made sense being there, and I always heard music, and I always knew the music was for me, and I was very comfortable with that, and the church validated that. And I would read cards and be accurate, but I would not do it anymore. I mean, it was a big call for tarot readers 30 years ago. So I figured I'd just get a job, make money, and do what everybody does. And about 8 years ago, I moved. I was caring for my mother, and I moved to a house that was brand new, pretty much new, but there was a presence there, and it was very scary, and I could hear it. So things started developing, but not really in the right way. You know, knocks on the door at 3 a.m. So I think it was Spirit's way of saying, look, you need to go back to your beliefs, and you need to go research, and you need to protect yourself. And through that experience, I found a way to clear my home. I found a way to figure out who I was. Somebody said, bring your tarot cards and read for me. So I read for someone else in the midst of all these people who just sat down, and I started channeling. And I went, what was that? You know? And that was a year ago. So I started taking classes, and I started trying to figure out what was going on. And I said, well, if this is what I have, if Spirit put me where I need to be and what I need to do. So I recently retired, and I'm doing a lot more with Spirit. I'm doing a lot more psychically. I'm doing some readings. And when I met you, you were one of the first persons who actually interviewed me for a psychic position. And all day long, I was like hyperventilating, you know. And I
would never been able to tell you were that nervous.
You know. So I came in, and the first thing I said to Kathy is like, I think I'm full of crap. And you said, me too. And I'm like, oh, we're going to be friends.
Yes.
So now the journey has exploded. I was a member of another spiritualist church, and I met some great people, and I've grown, and I've done some medium gatherings, and a lot of wonderful people have come and taught me a lot of things. I've taken classes in different places, and just recently I feel like it's exploded. Like when I first retired, I was like, this is great, I'm going to do this, and the energy just went kaboom. But then it gathered back, and it kind of put me where I needed to be, so I feel like I'm in the right place with this. So I don't know how it was for you. I feel like I'm the newbie in the room all the time, but when I get going, I can't shut up.
When I first started getting into spirituality, I felt the same way. You know, it's like, you know, I get all these advanced people and like, what am I doing here though? But yet though, I'm the one that's teaching people now though, everything. Right. You know, 19 years though, this month though, I've been doing a lot of this work. Wow. So, but I mean, there's been people that do this longer than me, and so I don't feel like I'm a veteran. But yet though, when, you know, it's like you or like another client of mine or someone that wants to get into this work, it's a student of mine, they're asking me all these questions. I'm like, oh, I can actually answer these questions now. I'm the veteran now. I'm the one that can actually help people. It's like, okay, this is what you need to be doing. It's always going to feel like you're making a story.
Exactly.
You know, it's just, that does not go away.
But I think at first, and I think probably a lot of people who begin this type of journey, you're like, you doubt yourself. Mm-hmm. And when I'm at the hairdressers, I have time, and everything just comes, and people are there. And I was reading somebody, and I said to them, I said, oh, your dad was part of the Orig band club. And she said, wait a minute. And she went, she got a picture. She said, never doubt yourself. And there was a picture of her dad with a drum that said Orig band club. Yeah. And I said, okay, I believe it. I think it took a while for me to believe it and believe in myself, because if you're working, you're one person. That's your identity. I go to work, I do blah blah blah, and all of a sudden you're talking to spirit. And people who known you for 38 years are like, what's going on with you? You know, like you're not the same person anymore. Like you have 2 feet in different places. Like I was working and I was one way, and I was hearing this, and I was telling people, hey, your grandmother's here, you know. And it was hard. It was a hard transition. Yeah. And I think everybody goes through that. When you first start doing this, either you just scream with your hair on fire and run, or you go, okay, I got to deal with it. And I don't look at like it's something like it's something I had. It's a gift, you know. And I always say to Spirit, I'm like, okay, you gave me this gift. I'm very blessed. I'm very happy with my life. I'm very contented, and just put me where I need to be. And I found people. I'm finding my tribe, I guess is what I'm calling it. So it's a whole new tribe of people who are like, no, you're not really weird.
Right?
You're not strange.
You feel like you're the only one though through all this stuff, but you're not.
Right. And it's funny because I was just telling you a story about, we were talking about spirit guides and different things. And because I channel, I always had a hard time trying to find out who my spirit guides are. And I've done Reiki, and the first time I was attuned, I saw, and I called him South Park Jesus. And I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, everybody's got these guides named Sapphire and blah, blah, blah. I got South Park Jesus. And it turns out his name was Daniel. And it kind of came full circle because I was watching South Park, and Jesus was on there for the South Park Jesus. I'm like, oh, he doesn't look anything like that, you know. So I was like, but I think in my case, my spirit guides were saying you really need to lighten up. You know, you are too whatever with this. You know,
too rigid. Yeah,
I was like, because I'm like, what is this, and how do I get there? I took mediumship 1, like with everybody, you know, and finally it clicked. And then I took 2 and practicals, and actually thinking about going on. And the more I go with this, the more I learn. The more I learn that I don't know anything, you know, like it opens up this world. I mean, we were talking to Spirit Circle last week, and you were talking about Jesus and Mary Magdalene. I'm like, wait a minute, where do I find that? You know, it's just like a domino effect. It's like once you think you've got something, there's shamanism, there's angels, and I've just recently started channeling angels. Yeah. And I'm like, I always used to get people like, your grandmother's here. She's saying you're not taking care of yourself. But I kept saying they. I think it was for you. Me, it was for you. And I kept saying, who is they? You know, like I say, are they messing with me? Are they, you know, I'm like, oh, they're angels. And then you had 3 angels and a little baby angel. Yeah. And I was like, oh, thank you. Not that they've come around again. They came for you, Kathy. But I
love working with them though. Yeah. It's a whole different level with them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like somebody will ask me a question, and if I'm like have the door open, I'm like, I can just answer them. Like I turn it on and off. Like other people, they prepare, they get their spirit guides, and not me. It's like I feel like it's just sewer mouth. It just comes out, you know. Yeah. And sometimes inappropriately. Like if somebody says something, you're like, oh, don't worry about that. And like, how do you know? And you're like, oh, I'm a medium, you know. So, and I've been fortunate that when I've had those experiences, that the people have been really kind of interested in, and it's given them some peace. So I think when it's a gift and you're giving peace to other people, that's the best way to take it. I will never give any reading that is full of hatred or anything. It's always full of hope. And I've been lucky that the messages I get are from angels and are from your grandma. Because who doesn't love you more than your grandmother, right?
Yeah.
You know?
So what I find in recent years, people have been more open to the spiritual aspect of stuff. You know, and like religion works for a lot of people, but it's not working the way it used to.
Yes.
You know, and it's not just any one religion, so I can't be like, oh, it's this particular path, or it's. I've had all walks of life come to me for different readings and stuff like that, for different needs, because we're all looking for a little bit of guidance. Okay, which way do I go? But what I find, especially like the older generation, where like more often though the older generation, but I've seen younger people though too, where you're not really sure if they're going to take it. But when you start talking, it's like, oh, they're not going to take this well. But yet, though, their dead sister's with them, though, but they want this, give this message so bad to this gentleman that I'm speaking to. But I'm like, okay, how do I do this? But yet, though, fortunate so far that we started talking about what the message is about. So I just passed it off as advice, and that worked for them. And the dead sister left, and she was happy that the message went through. So it's like, it's tricky. But it's like, okay, how do I handle this? It's like, oh my goodness. So it's like, they're like screaming in my ears, like, tell them. But I'm like, okay, but we're talking, and they're talking about, that this is the religious stuff that they do, and all this, and their leaders like tell them to do that. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. It's like, how do I do this without them trying to crucify me? And they said, like, oh, just, pass it off as advice, so they don't need to know. I'm like, okay.
See, I'm at the age too, when this was coming up, it was the tea room in Boston, and it was always the ladies that were going, and my father would go, go talk to your ghosties, and he'd laugh it off, and like I've actually heard from my dad going, well, I believe you now, like he had to pass
different
on,
when they're outside,
and he laughs about it, and it's just a different type of situation now. Like I've done some work, and I'm amazed at the type of people that I've read. I've big construction guys, and all kinds of people from every religion, and even fellow mediums. And so I feel like we are a community. Like when you meet somebody who does this, is like you're instant friends with them, because I think we have the same type of makeup. I think I remember somebody saying, oh, well, we tend to eat too much sugar and our blood sugar is higher because we connect, and we have to watch out for that. And I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't such a good idea, but like I'm hoping that's not true. But
well, I've never had a problem.
Oh, good.
And it runs in my family, so
yeah, so that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. So it's just it's amazing, and I feel like I said, I've been blessed, and some days I wake up and I'm thankful for everybody I've met, that like Spirit has always put somebody in my path
when you needed
when I needed it, when I was doubting myself, and it's not that I didn't need the validation, but I've always tried to stay internal with it, like humble, because it's not my gift, and it just comes from whatever, and the longer I do it, the better I get at it, and I've almost asked Spirit, it's like, okay, if you're gonna have me do this, please don't let me fall on my face or say the wrong something. So it's always a prayer to say the best and the highest good for everybody, because that's all we need is this hope. Right now there's like so many shifts, and the energy so wonky that I think we all need that little bit of light, and that little bit of, and people like that share this gift are just bringing some light to the world. So
it's all we need is a little bit of hope, and okay, which way do we go? It's like, and I've had some clients come to me frustrated though, because like they keep trying to get better, but if they keep getting roadblocks, I'm like, well, they're lessons, or you need to go through them though, so you know what not to do. And they're like, oh, but yet it feels like we're still. I'm like, well, it's gonna feel that way, because that's not the way we want to go. It's like, okay, what if this happened? What if that happened? Like, well, we have choice, and that's like nothing's ever etched in stone. And I've gotten some readings myself, though. I don't know if you have yet, though, where people need to be careful for certain things. And kind of like, it's like to be proactive in whatever that situation was, so it doesn't get to the worst case. I've actually seen some people's basements that were getting flooded out. So I've told them, like, look, get the water checked out. I don't know if it's the water heater or the pipes, though, but like, get a plumber down there before it becomes that issue. And it's actually happened a couple of times where one time the person told me that, like, I forgot how she explained it, but something like to do with like, I don't know if it was the heater or the water heater, like the heater for the heat in the windshield or the water heater. But it was something, the hole was like wrapped in plastic wrap. And the guy, the tradesperson that came in there said that when it came to the winter time, if you had to turn that on, the house probably went on fire. Because that whole section, though, should not have been closed off. I probably saved a couple $1,000s, though.
Wow.
But again, that looked at.
Next time I have a plumbing problem, I'm going to call you.
Okay.
Yeah. The one that I had was the husband came through to the daughter, and it was the favorite daughter, and he kept saying, your mother needs to take her medication. She's been playing doctor, and she was like, oh my God. I said, she feels like she doesn't need this medication, but it was blood pressure medication.
Oh, goodness.
And it was really kind of a vital message. And the message was, if she doesn't take it, she's going to get ill, and she doesn't need that pathway. And so the daughter said, well, how do I get my mother to listen? And the father was like, I couldn't do it when I was alive. Good luck, you do it, And I'm like, you're going to have to figure it out, So they do come through, and they do offer some solutions. And I find that when I read, it's always like what people are struggling with, And sometimes it's what I'm struggling with, or sometimes, and I tend to talk about myself, but I realize when spirit comes in, they're showing me this thing. And remember when this happened to you, and I'll go off, and then all of a sudden, it's relevant. Yeah. It's happening to them, and it's like, I just
sometimes we feel like we're the only ones going through something.
Exactly, but like the whole, I feel like, okay, I'm sitting here talking about myself and my issue with this, and all of a sudden they're like, they'll say, well, I have this issue. And then I'm like, this is the same thing. This is the exact same thing. So every time I talk about something that was relevant to me, it's the same issue that somebody's sitting in front of me. And sometimes I don't even remember I had that issue, The best things that I find out, the thing that I like about spirit the most is when animals come through. I don't know if you get animals.
A few, not often.
But I get golden retrievers as this big snout. It's just a snout, right? And at first I was like, it's this huge snout. I don't see anything else. And I'm like, Bernese Mountain Dog, and it's always a golden retriever. And I say that because a golden came by today, and I'm like, so I've learned, oh, that's a golden, I had a little dog during during COVID, and she got cancer, and she passed, and she was like, I don't know, she was my protector, and it was hard when she went. And after she went, she came back and spoke to me, and because I was hearing such negativity, I was hearing a lot of swear words from whatever was in my house, and I didn't know how to get rid of it. And all of a sudden, this little baby voice came through and said, no more cancer, and cover your face. So she was bossy. She's like, it was COVID, so she was saying, cover your face. Yeah. And she said she was hiding. And I'm like, don't hide, come back, And it was for me, who was one of the first experiences I had, it brought such joy to me that this little dog who had this little baby voice, and then I realized that all our dogs are little babies, and they're toddlers, and if they were, and I felt what a gift that was to hear this little dog in this baby sing-song voice, and it just changed my whole, I mean, I love dogs, I love cats, but now, I have one now as a challenge, and I have to, he's a real baby, but he likes to fall in the pool.
Yes, yes, he did.
You were there, and he fell in the pool, and people jumping in to save him, but, his energy's kind of out there, but, I can't seem to read myself. I can read other people. I don't know if you have the same.
I have the same problem, though, too, Because our head gets in the way, so our worry gets in the way, so it stops us. So there's been many times like, hey, can you read for me though? Because I'm not getting what's going on here. It's like a missing piece. So it's just like it's hard because our head gets in the way. Our worry though, our anxiety though, our stuff.
Do they tell you to lighten up? That's what they tell me a lot. They're like, you need to I've heard my guides are funny. I'm like, yeah, well, I would like to know. They need to talk to me more. Like, oh, they're hilarious. And I'm like, they want you to lighten up. I'm like, why don't they tell me that? Tell me a joke or something. But now I'm starting to know who they are. And I can see I've got a crew. Yeah. We could put on a comedy show with who these people are. And it's just amazing how a year ago, I never thought I'd be sitting here discussing this with you. I did go through that whole thing with my house, having that negative energy. And I was lucky because I kind of knew what was going on, and I saged, but it didn't work. It stayed, and I saw it, I heard it, I smelt it, and my dogs were terrified. And they didn't want to go up to the other level of the house. And I didn't know how to clear it. And now I know that everything is love. Like everything you do is intention is love. If spirit comes through you, it's love, and you pass it on. And I think we were talking about when I read for people who've lost children, I used to be like in a fetal position because I would just absorb that. And I had a message from Spirit. It's like, we're really just here to give the message. We're not here to decipher the message. We're here just to give it because whoever's sitting there needs to hear it. And we need to remind them that we are not the body, we are spirit, and people go on and we come down here. And that hopefully pierces their grief. So and ever since I got the message, I haven't really had anybody who's lost a child. So that's a hard thing, because my mother lost her son at 36, and she wasn't the same afterwards. But it put me on a path with the spiritualist church, and she was all Catholic. She's like, oh my God, she confessed to the priest, and the priest said, did it make you feel better? And she said, yes, it gave me peace. And I never forgot that. This actually gave her peace. So I don't fear it, and I feel like it's almost our duty to share it with people. If somebody's having a hard time, it's okay to say, somebody's here, and they're like, they got pom-poms behind you, and they're saying you can do it. And I think we all need to be a little bit more like that.
It's just the self-doubt slows us down. It really just does, though, because to us it doesn't make sense. But it doesn't have to. But at first, though, when trying to make sense of everything, though, we think it has to make sense for us, though. So that's why, it's even 19 years later, I still feel like I'm just telling a story, that I'm just making it up.
Me too.
If it wasn't for feedback, I would have stopped a long time ago. But it's like, I'm so grateful for feedback, though, and then I'm sure you're getting there, though, too, though, because you're at a point now where you're getting a lot of feedback now, though, too. But it wasn't for that, though. I would have stopped a long time ago, though.
Well, you know what I did, Kathy? Before I met you, I would read anybody. I'd say, I'll read your cards, and I don't want any money, but you must tell me if I'm full of crap. I didn't say crap, but I would make the person tell me. I'm like, you have to tell me. And here it is, 2 years, and I'm still waiting for one person to tell me I'm full of crap. And I'm sure it's coming. I'll probably cry when it happens, but
I don't think you will, because you would have gotten it by now.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
I think the hardest thing is trying to read. When I met you, I read you, and I'm like, she knows more. She has a lot. She's been doing this a while, and I'm like, who am I? I'm coming in, and I've got, kooky spirits in my house, and I'm hearing things, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm here, but I've got an appointment with this lady, and now I see at the point, I really didn't see things like actually, I'm very close with the Virgin Mother, and I say a rosary every day, and I actually channeled her a couple of times, and I've sat there for 10 minutes later going, oh my God. And I think I told you, but how can you just go into work the next day and say, hey, I was talking with Mary, she's doing well.
Yeah, you'd be sent to the crazy house if you did that, though.
So it's good to have that community, but I realized at the time, I didn't understand it. And it takes a while to understand where you are. And finally, I just threw up my hands and I said, okay, I believe you. I can do it. Either I'm going to, I just retired, I can sit in a rocking chair and do nothing for the next 30 years, hopefully if I have 30 years, or I can do this, and I say, Spirit, just put me where I need to be, and I've been doing it, and hopefully, I find myself meeting people who are starting out that had the same issues I did. Like, you have the buzzing in the air. Remember the buzzing in the air?
I used to have it, first, yeah.
I had that for like 6 months straight, and I met somebody who's I said, oh yeah, I had that, and sometimes it's always. That's all it takes is somebody say, yeah, I had that. It's a process. I was glad to get rid of that because that was not,
See, the thing was with me, though, tinnitus runs on my dad's side of the family. So when I first had that, though, I didn't know if it was tinnitus or if it was spirit talking. Okay, which one is it?
Me too.
But there's someone, when somebody had told me to ask him to tone it down. And that's how I learned it was spirit, though, doing it versus the tinnitus, because I still get the tinnitus once in a while.
Yeah.
So sometimes I still have to ask that, though, just to check it. So if it's same volume, I know it's that, which is annoying.
I get a pain. Like, sometimes I'll get a pain. I'm like, okay, is this me or is it Memorex? I mean, I'm dating myself, but, I actually have to go, oh, my arm's killing me today. I'm like, did I bump my arm? No. Oh, this isn't me. I don't appreciate that as much as just kind of telling somebody something. And I think it was hard for me when people cried. I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And now I realize that the crying is a release. Yeah. The crying is a blessing. For them, it's a blessing. And I've taken some classes in London. Zoom, hope to get to London, and they said that Spirit wants to communicate with us, with all of us, and they want to tell their people stuff. So if the person is crying, it's important for them. I know I've had people come through and they said, I'm sorry, and I'm like, so it is a release. It is, I don't know if it's karma or fate or whatever you put onto it, but it's like that person in this moment needed to hear that message. And again, it's not to me to, somebody sat down once, and this was crazy. I said, I see a shipwreck and a new job. And she said, oh, I worked for a cruise line and there was a shipwreck. Oh. And now I have a new job. It's literal. Yes, it was a literal shipwreck, And
it isn't always, though, which is fascinates me when it is,
Yeah, and I was like, so it's been so many crazy things like that with to say to somebody, and this particular person sat down and said, I'm not telling you anything, and I said, okay, because I said you have a question. And it was this night of everybody sitting down. This young kid, like a young guy, sat down, and I'm like, was your grandmother a hippie? Did she wear like go-go boots and stuff? And she'd walk by me like this, like for the next 2 days, and I didn't understand it. It was just coming. But I think the best connection that I had was the first person I channeled was somebody who had kidney disease and had the first pig transplant. Okay. And his fiance hadn't slept, and she was going through this process, and what she didn't and she's realized it now is that she was part of this. He probably knew he wasn't going to make it, but he did it to help everybody. So he was a warrior, but so was she. Like she was part of this, even though she couldn't sleep and stuff. But just that message there came through, and I was glad to help. Definitely glad to help.
Yeah, sometimes people just need that little extra piece. And both versions of that word, though, it's like that, like missing link, though, or like, okay, what do I got to do next? So it's like, okay, where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be doing it. Exactly. And sometimes it's hard for us to understand that, though. Yeah. Because time only works in one direction here, though. And the spirit side, it's happening all at once, the past, present, and future, though. So it's like, that's why they see everything. We don't, because it's only in one time, like one timeline, I guess, though, in a way. So it's just, it's hard, though, and I think that's why it's hard for us to read for ourselves, though, too, though, because it's okay, what's happening here? It's like, our worry gets, like I said before, our worry gets kicked in.
Yeah, I always see me winning Powerball, so I know I'm full of crap.
That would be nice.
Yeah, but no, it never happens. I mean, let me read this. Oh, that doesn't mean, no, that's trouble. That's Powerball winning. Yeah, so I know I delude myself, so I have to see you or someone else to keep me grounded, because I don't know. I'm just, but for anybody else, maybe I'll see you winning Powerball. That would be great, and they'll call me
Yeah.
up. But every time I've seen money, people are like, yeah, you know, you were right,
Yeah.
or a baby or something, and I'm like, and nobody's more surprised about the whole thing than I am, and I'm
Yeah.
still, you know, awed by it.
And I think as though it's like I needed a lot of that when I first started giving messages to people. Now it's like when I give messages to people, I don't know what I tell them. I don't remember anymore. Once it's out of my mouth, it's like it's gone. Like it's gone to some kind of weird sea of like energy somewhere, you know. And I've had a lot of people tell me, it's like, do you remember?